Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for having us here today. My name is Chris Estrade. I'm from Hancock-Whitney Bank. Who's familiar with Hancock-Whitney? Most of you in the room? Okay. If y'all are not familiar with Hancock-Whitney, we are the big building in downtown Gulport, tallest building in the city. So if you have a chance, come down and we'll give you a tour of the building, give you a tour of the lobby. But we're really happy to be with you guys today. I am what they call a retail branch manager. Does anybody kind of know what a branch manager might do? Yes, sir.
It kind of like levels out, like isn't there like more than one branches, and like you level out to make sure that everybody has the same power, I guess.
Okay, well that's somewhat what we do. I'm primarily responsible for the Gulport, Maine branch, and I manage a staff of about 12 people, and we do all job families. We have all job families from teller to financial service specialist to multi-service banker to myself, a branch manager. So we do a lot of different job functions within the branch, and I've been working for Hancock-Whitney for about 13 years now. The bank's been very good to me, and we have a lot of different career opportunities within the bank, especially at our Gulfport location. It being our corporate headquarters, we have everything from accountants to attorneys to customer-facing bankers such as myself, who are able to work there and work with the public, work with you, work with some of your moms and dads to talk to you about different deposit and loan products that we offer within the bank. So with that being said, who can kind of give me an idea about what a bank does? Yes, ma'am. They save money? Okay, what else? Distribute money evenly. Very good answer. What else? Yes, ma'am.
It's a place where you can keep all the extra money or money that you don't want around or something like that.
Good. Okay, so what I'm hearing right there is it's a place where we can keep additional money, but keep it what? Keep it safe. Exactly. And that's one of the main functions of the banking system. And we're very proud to be able to do that for our clients and prospective clients. So y'all are exactly right. A couple of things that the banks do: banks hold money for people. And what ways do we hold those? Who's heard of a savings account before? Very good. So what are some other ways that banks might hold money for people?
Deposit box.
In what?
Deposit box.
Deposit boxes, safe deposit boxes. Anybody ever hear of a certificate of deposit? Or a CD? Okay, not too many people have heard of those. How about checking accounts? Okay, most of us are going to be familiar with checking accounts. What's that little card that we use that's attached to our checking account? Check card, very good, very good. So does anybody have a check card on them? No? Okay, so some of your parents might give you a check card, some might not. But what that can do, you can swipe it at a point of sale and you can actually use it to purchase things, purchase goods and services. Another thing that banks do is banks lend money. They lend money to businesses and consumer clients. Who's familiar or who knows a small business owner? Does anybody know anyone who owns a small business? Do you know someone? Okay, who do you know that owns a small business? Your mom? Okay. What kind of business does she own? What kind? Face painting? Okay. Sir, do you have one? Okay. So we have different businesses. What are some other types of small businesses that people might have?
You can do hair.
You can do hair? Very good. Banks help lots of business owners take out loans to begin businesses. That's one of the functions that we serve. In addition to holding money, we'll also allow people to take out loans to start businesses or to grow businesses. We do that for the consumer side as well as the business side. Who knows what a mortgage loan is? What's a mortgage loan?
Most mortgage loans are set up on houses or businesses.
Very good, very good. So when someone wants to purchase a house is pretty expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you typically can't just save up a couple of paychecks and purchase a house. So one of the things that banks are going to do, Banks are going to allow you to take out a loan, either a 15, 20, or 30-year loan, and we're going to be able to do a mortgage for you or your mom and dad. We'll be able to set that up to where you can get in the house now, but continue to pay us back over time. So lastly, I want to talk a little bit about credit cards. Who's heard of credit cards? I think most of us in the room have heard of credit cards. So are credit cards good or bad?
Good.
Good. It's like most things. Credit cards can be a good thing as long as what? As long as we use them correctly. Just like a car, if you use a car incorrectly or dangerously, you can get in trouble, right? So just like that, credit cards are the same way. If we watch what we're spending, if we only spend enough to where we can pay that credit card off at the end of the month, we're going to be in good shape, right? That's financial responsibility used correctly. So those are some products that we lend money on: business, consumer loans, mortgages, and credit cards. So let's talk a little bit about how banks work. Let's say you deposit money into a bank. You put money with us at Hancock-Whitney Bank. What are we going to do with that money? That's right. We're going to pay you interest as what's called a percentage of that money. So let's say you come bring some money into me, and we pay you 3% on that money. The bank is going to give out that money in a loan. So let's say you bring us $500. The bank is going to lend out that money to a client who might want to purchase a new car, who might want to fix up their house, who might want to do some of these other things. And the difference between that is going to be profit for the bank. So we have different things that we do as bankers. So the way that banking works, if I were to kind of give you an idea of how it works from top to bottom, it's basically going to be that savers will deposit money. If you get money for what holiday is coming up? Christmas, Thanksgiving. So you might get some money for Christmas, right? And what are we going to do with that money? Hopefully we'll bring it down to Hancock-Whitney. We'll put it into a savings account, and then we'll save that money and we'll pay you a rate of interest on it. Let's say we pay you 3% on that money. Borrowers are going to come in and they're going to withdraw that money. But more importantly, we're going to have people who come in who want to purchase a vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to lend that money to them. Like we say, we pay you 3%, we lend the money at 5%. That difference helps the bank earn a profit. So what do banks do with that profit? Well, banks employ people like me and people like my tellers. When you walk into a bank, you're going to see all of us, you're going to see these people taking care of you. They help banks operate. They help banks build branches. And one of the most important things that we do with that profit is coming out to schools and talking to folks like you. We're able to come out and talk a little bit about financial literacy, understanding kind of how banks work, what we do, who we are, and how we serve the community. Savings are going to be safe. You hit the nail on the head back here by saying that savings rates or savings accounts are going to be safe. Any money that you put in with the bank, it's going to be federally insured by the government through the FDIC. And so the money that you put with us, you can be assured that it's going to be there when you need it. Last thing we want to talk about with how banking works is the compounding effect. Has anybody ever heard of compounding interest before? Okay, so some of you might have heard of it before. I might have heard of it, but I don't really know what it is. So let's talk a little bit about what compound interest is. If you have $5,000 at 3% interest, and you have that money in the bank, and we pay you 3% interest on it for 10 years, you're going to have, at the end of that 10 years, you won't have $5,000, but you will have $6,700.
Students who return their field trip permission slip to attend Orange Grove Elementary School, please report to the main office in the 8th grade building. Please report to the main office at this time.
So during that 10 years, your $5,000 will turn into $6,700. So you'll earn about $1,700 on that money by having it with the bank. So does that make sense? Okay. So who likes money in here? Can I get a show of hands? Who likes money? Okay, I think everybody likes money, even Mr. Mack back here. What are the things that you can do with money? Well, as far as we can tell, there are just about 3 things that you can do with money. You can spend money, you can save it or invest it, or you can give it. So spend it, save it, or give it. And those are just about the 3 things that you can do with money. Who can give me an idea of what spending money is? What does spending money look like? Yes?
Shopping and wasting money.
Okay, very good. So spending money, you'd want to spend it on smaller things. You might spend it on like candy, toys, movies, games, different things like that. Who can give me an example of what saving money is? What's saving money? Yes?
It's like when you want to save for something that you need.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to talk in just a little bit about kind of short-term, mid-term, and long-term savings. But what would be something you might want to save money for this time of year? For college. That's great. What else? Christmas. Very good. So we're going to want to buy our friends and family gifts here in the next month or so, right? So we can only do that if we save money. The third thing that we can do with money is give money. Who can give me an example of a way that we could give money to better our community? Yes?
Well, you can give it to like homeless people or like less fortunate people, or give it to like businesses that like need help the most.
That's right. That's right. There are some great charities and organizations who can use your money to help the community, United Way being one. Yes, ma'am. Did you have an example?
You said it already.
Okay, very good. Homeless shelters, animal shelters, churches, different things like this. These are some great ways that we can give our money and it make a real difference. So keep those things in mind. Anybody ever ask you, what can you do with money, or why is money important? Let them know about those 3 things that you can do with money. The next thing we want to cover is budgeting. Who is familiar with budgeting, or who has heard the word budgeting before? Someone, y'all give me some examples of what budgeting might be. And you can shout it out.
Maybe like a certain amount of like money that you like need to spend. Or, like,
Okay, good. So a budget is a certain amount. What did you say?
A certain money by wasting as little as you can.
Okay, so not wasting money. What else?
Or you, instead of eating out every other day of the week,
Good.
y'all just don't eat good.
Very good, very good. That's a great point. You're going to find that the majority of your money, if you sit down, and we're going to talk a little bit about budgeting, but if you sit down and you talk about what you spend most of your money on, it's going to be food. You spend a lot of it on food, so that's great. Officially, I'm going to read you the official definition, and then we're going to kind of talk about what a budget really is. But a personal budget is a financial plan that allocates future income toward expenses, savings, and debt repayment. For short, what's a budget? Just like you guys said, a budget is you telling your money what to do instead of your money telling you what to do. Who gets to decide what's in your budget?
yourself.
You do. You do. Now, you have certain parameters that you need to follow. The parameters you need to follow are the amount of money that you make. That's a big portion. If you're making, X number of dollars, you can't spend all of that, on just a vehicle. You're going to need insurance for that vehicle. You're going to have gasoline money, oil changes, different things like that. So those are some things that you need to be aware of. What are your goals? When we talk about goals, and we've already kind of touched on it just a little bit, but we have 3 tiers of goals, and those are typically going to be short-term goals, mid-term goals, and long-term goals when we're looking at budgeting. So what would be an example of a short-term goal? Something that you might have 1 to 4 weeks to save for. Yeah.
A video game.
Video game, perfect, exactly. How about a mid-term goal? Something that's like 2 to 12 months.
A gift.
A gift, very good. And especially if it's a big gift, it's going to be more middle term. If it might be $100 or more, we might need to save for that for a couple of months to be able to do it. What's our main long-term goal that we're going to have? Yeah, y'all shout it out. I'm sure it's the same thing.
College.
College, what else?
House.
A house, car. Yeah, these are really big goals that you're typically going to need more than a year to save for. Well, college is inexpensive, right? College doesn't cost very much money, right? Am I right?
No.
No, college is super expensive. So we're going to have savings for many years just to be able to handle that. So keep those things in mind. And something, something that we like to say is the 3 C's. If you can kind of keep that in mind, short-term goals are things like camping. I'm going on a camping trip. I'm going to need a tent, sleeping bag, some of those things. It might just take you a few weeks to save up for that. Midterm goals are things like computers, and like you guys said, long-term goals are going to be things like college. What resources do you have to achieve your own personal goals? These are going to be things that are personal and external. So if you want to achieve a goal, if you want to save for college, what do you typically need to be able to get to your job? What do you need? A car. Absolutely. So that's going to be an external resource that you need to be able to get to your job. What's another thing you might need in order to make a goal happen? What?
Money.
Money? Absolutely. Absolutely. But to earn money, you're going to need things like tools. Let's say you work on houses or you're a plumber. You're going to need those tools. You're going to have to purchase those kind of things. So keep those things in mind. Any goal that we have or anything that we do is typically going to take resources to allocate. Jobs. Who has a job in the room? Who can share what your job is with us?
I got a summer job, like I work at the water park.
Okay. Water park. What else? Yeah.
I do hair.
You do what?
Hair.
Hey, you do hair? Wonderful. Who cuts grass? Who's cut grass in here? I think all of us have cut grass at one time or another. Some of us might still cut grass. I don't know. But that's a great thing to do. So the important thing is to understand that in order to be able to budget money, we have to have money coming from somewhere. Does anybody have an allowance? Okay, so we have some folks with allowance on here. How about commission? Does anybody work on commission? Okay. Who doesn't know what I'm talking about when you say that? Commission versus allowance. I do want to touch on this just real quick. Commission is more like the real world. You get allowance, you might get X number of dollars per week. Commission is more like the real world in the sense that if you don't work, you don't get what?
Money.
You don't get money. You don't get paid, basically. So if you report to work, you get paid. If you don't report to work, you don't get paid. So a lot of parents have gone to doling out a commission based upon chores that you do, maybe helping drive a little brother or a little sister to a play or to a ball game or something like that. So those are some areas where you can get money. Does anybody else have any other interesting ways that they've gotten money in the past? Any jobs, babysitting, anything like that? Okay. See, you guys have done all this stuff. Y'all have cut grass, y'all have babysat, you've done hair. I mean, that's wonderful. So where does our money go? I think we talked a little bit, and when we discuss budgeting, the big thing, and I think someone mentioned it earlier, but we want to understand where our money's actually going here. So who can tell me the difference between a want and a need? Yes?
A want is something that, a want is like something that you really want, and a need is a necessity. It's not like, oh, I want this, and like, a need is like food or clothes. Or
That's right. Those two words are really hard to define without using the actual words, aren't they? A need is something that it's a necessity. It's like food, clothing, shelter, the things that you need to stay healthy, to stay alive. The wants are pretty much everything else. You guys are very fortunate, and we all are in the United States, to be here because many of the things we want and we say we need this right now, they are wants. They're truly not needs. Our food, clothing, and shelter, for the most part, are going to be taken care of. And so very little of what we actually say we need, but it's more along the lines of wants. If I can encourage you guys to do one thing over the next 30 days, and I might even try to check back with you on this, if you can track how much money that you spend in food. Who likes to go out and eat with their friends? I think we all like to do it. But if you can track how much money you spend in just eating out with food over the next 30 days, I think you'd be very, very surprised. You're going to find a couple of different things. You're going to find, first of all, you're going to say, wow, I can't believe I spent that much. I don't know where I got that much money to eat. But secondly, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, wow, what could I be putting that money toward if I wasn't using it for food? What if I were eating a sandwich at home before I went out? How much money would you be able to save toward future things like a computer, like a car, like college, like a lot of you guys are putting away? And you know, while you guys are putting money away for those things, think about if you got a scholarship and you had put some money away for college. That would be free money to you. You'd be able to do with it what you want. You'd be able to get that car. So I would encourage you guys, track what you're spending, understand where it is that your money's going so that you can make the most of it while you have it. What might make a habitual spender turn into a saver? Let me ask that question again. If you have a habit of spending, if you spend a lot of money and you don't know where your money goes, what might help you to be able to put that way into savings? Yeah? Budgeting. Very good. But what do we do when we want to make sure something's in stone? We do what?
Put it in like the savings account.
The bank.
We put it in the bank, but we write it down. Okay? Who has goals in here? Okay. You need to know this, and I'll share this with you, but if you don't write down your goal, it's just a wish. If you write down your goal, studies have been shown that if you write down your goals, they are way more likely to happen, like 90% more likely to happen than if you just say, you know what, I would love to do this one day. If you write it down, you're going to be much more successful. So do that and keep that in mind as you are continuing to do things. So why do we want to budget? When you hear the word budget, do you kind of feel like maybe it's a little bit constrictive, like you might not be able to have fun? Does it kind of sound like that sometimes? Okay. You know, we definitely want to reinforce to you that, you know, the budget doesn't control you, you control the budget. So if you have saved, if you've been a good saver and you have this money, it's okay to spend it every once in a while. You want to do that. That's what money's for, to spend. But if you will save and if you will put away money to be able to have a good time, it'll be a lot more fun when you're able to spend it. So questions on the budget. We're not going to go into great detail about budgeting, but I did want to kind of give you an overview of what a budget is, what it can do for you, and why it's important to you. So with that being said, I'd like to open the floor for questions. We do have some giveaways for you guys, which we'll give to you after class. And your teacher has been recording who's really been participating and answering questions, so I really appreciate that. But what questions do you have for me? And it can be about anything with banking. The more questions, the better, and we'll try to answer about 4 or 5 of them in the time we have. What's your question?
So on the scale level of how hard your job is from 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
Well, so the question is, how hard is my job? Well, I love my job. So I have the hat that I wear as a manager, and that is fun sometimes. And I have the hat that I wear in working with my customers, and I love that hat. I always love that hat. So those are the 2 parts of what I do. The management side, that can get kind of stressful sometimes because you're working a lot with employees and different challenges that you might face. But the customer side is a lot of fun. I have moms and dads who come to me every day, and they'll bring me one of those manila folders, or they'll bring me a folder a lot like this, and they'll say, and it'll have, you know, all of their personal information in it, tax returns, pay stubs, all of this. And they will lay this folder on my desk and say, Chris, here's all of my information. Can you help me get into a house? Can you help me buy my first house? Can you help my child start their credit? Can you help them open up a credit card? That's the fun part to me. So the more stressful side is the manager side, but the more fun side is the times when I get to work with my customers. So long answer to a short question, but good question. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had a file that was really hard?
Have I had a what?
File that was really hard.
I couldn't hear you.
A file that was real hard.
A file that was real hard? All the time, yeah. We have, what we try to do is, with the information that our clients give us, we try to make the best decision with that client for what's going to work best for them. We have people who come in and they might have a couple of credit cards that they have debts on, and or they might have balances on those credit cards, and we might find a way that they weren't even thinking of to put those balances together and offer that customer a lower interest rate to where it's cheaper for them to pay that off. So, but it can be a challenge sometimes. Yes?
When you go through like the thing by the bank, like when you go through that and get money, is that still called like a withdrawal?
A withdrawal? Yeah, so if you were to go up to the teller and you were withdrawing money, that is a withdrawal. Mm-hmm. Yes?
How did you save it?
What was your question?
I wondered, how did you save your money?
How did I save my money? In a savings account. My parents, they set aside money for me when I was very young in a savings account, and they put some money in, and they would allow me to put some money in to where when I got to a certain age, I was able to buy a computer. I was able to buy some of the things that I wanted. So my parents kind of encouraged me to save by putting some money aside for me to help me. And that really made it fun to see how much I could save, to see if I could put it away as well. Yes?
How long have you been working at the bank?
I've been working with the bank almost 13 years. I'll make 13 years this month. And with that, I've done a lot of different jobs within the bank, but really enjoy what I'm doing now. Yes?
Now, is it true that like some customers are like hard to work with and like they're not putting in as much work as you are? Does that get frustrating?
Well, some clients, every client is different to work with. And so the important thing is to kind of understand, why a client is coming in and needing something. Any client that we have, they have a goal or they have a dream that they're trying to achieve. And so if we understand our customers' goals and dreams, then we're able to assist them in doing whatever it is that they need. So I think we have time for maybe one more question. Did you have your hand up back here? Yes.
I was gonna ask you, have you ever had to tell someone no when they came up to you about buying a house?
Yeah, we have. That's one of the things that aren't as fun to do with our job. Sometimes if let's say somebody doesn't make enough money for us to be able to give them a loan, sometimes we have to tell them no. Typically in our job though, one of the great things that we get to do is we get to sit down with that client and say, if this variable were different, if we had a little bit more income here, or if we can get that credit up just a little bit, we might be able to do this for you. So we generally don't just tell people no. We try to assist them by bettering whatever it is why we can't do it right now, if that makes sense. All right. So guys, listen, I really want to thank you all for having us here today with you. Mr. Mack with the Mississippi Bankers Association, he's going to be giving everyone in the class a Mississippi Banker magazine, which is hot off the press. It just came out today. So Mr. Mack will be passing that out. But thank you all so much for having us with you today. Thank you.